Hey everyone, today let's know about some of the most influential people in the British Empire. Let's start the video, but before that I request you to subscribe to the channel and like this video so that I can bring more exciting ones like this. The British Empire comprised the colonies, dependencies, dominions and mandates ruled over by Great Britain. At its peak, it stood as the largest empire the world has ever seen. Its imperial power grew out of the barrel of a gun. On the ground, Britain's empire was built off the labor and resources of colonized people, managed by colonial administrators and military men and propped up by colonial troops. Yet, it was also sanctioned, conceived and governed by an elected cadre of highly influential individuals from the imperial center. John Stuart Mill. John Stuart Mill's famous essay on liberty in 1851 stands as one of the most famous defenses of individual freedom against the tyranny of the majority ever written. However, despite his status as a leading liberal thinker of his day, he was a staunch advocate of empire and vigorous supporter of the subjugation of non-European peoples. Alongside support for individual life and liberty, Mill defended colonization throughout his life. In his writings, Mill argued that colonial territories were not yet European, but potentially capable of refinement and civilization through proper guidance and administration. Self-government was for those deemed ready. In 1823, at the age of 17, Mill began his career as a colonial administrator of the British East India Company, a role he held until 1858. His belief in the backwardness of Indian society and benevolent despotism as a means to improve it played a significant role in the information of public opinion on colonialism. Robert Clive. Major General Robert Clive started as a clerk in the East Indian Company, became a soldier and rose to become the first British Governor General of Bengal. A highly resourceful and ruthless military commander, his greatest victory was the Battle of Plassey in 1757, which laid the foundation for East India Company rule in India. Clive's 2 terms as a Governor General were defined by rampant plunder. He returned to Britain in 1767 with a personal fortune of £180,000, which he had remitted through the East India Company. Upon his return, Clive was accused by British MPs of misrule and greed. He defended himself with characteristic conviction, claiming instead to be astounded by his own moderation. In 1774, he took his own life. The prevailing view of his motives was that his conscience finally caught up with his crimes. Cecil Rhodes. Cecil John Rhodes ranks as one of the most zealous imperialists that ever lived. He played a pivotal role in the late 19th century scramble for Africa, where he orchestrated the annexation of vast territories in southern Africa for the British Empire. In 1871, Rhodes entered the diamond trade and went on to found De Beers in 1888. His strategy was to expand the British Empire in Africa by launching mining ventures and securing mineral concessions from local African rulers. His dream of colonizing Rhodesia, which is modern-day Zimbabwe, was realized when his company was granted by a royal charter in 1889. Above all, Rhodes believed that the Anglo-Saxon race was destined for greatness. As Prime Minister of the British Cape Colony, he restricted black voting, laying the foundation for apartheid. The extreme violence of his British South Africa Company in Rhodesia marks one of the darkest chapters in British colonial history. Rudyard Kipling. Rudyard Kipling was one of Britain's most brilliant modern writers and its greatest evangelist of empire. From The Jungle Book in 1894 and Just So Stories in 1902 to poems like Mandalay and Gunga Din in 1890, his imperialist worldview loomed large. Although born in Bombay, the great trauma of Kipling's young life occurred in 1871 when he was sent to school in England. He didn't return to India until he was 17. In 1889, aged 23, he moved to London for good. His fascination with the culture of British India never left him. In England, Kipling emerged as a de facto voice for Anglo-Saxon imperialism. Most infamously, he implored the United States to take up the white man's burden in 1899 and assume the responsibility of civilizing the non-European heathens. Revered by some and reviled by others, Rudyard Kipling remains one of the most authentic voices of the culture of the British Empire. Queen Victoria. When Queen Victoria ascended to the throne at the tender age of 18, Britain was primarily a trading power. However, by the time of her death, Britain was in possession of the largest colonial empire the world has ever seen. The Government of India Act in 1858, which dissolved company rule and placed India under the rule of British Crown, was directly influenced by her and her husband, Albert. Accordingly, in the 1860s, she styled herself as Empress of India, officially receiving the title in 1876. Critically, Victoria forged the first modern relationship between monarch and empire, a precedent later embraced by her successors, from Queen Elizabeth II's zeal for the culture of empire to King Charles III's contemporary enthusiasm for the Commonwealth. The literal embodiment of national and imperial pride, Queen Victoria stands as a most influential figure in the history of the British Empire. She presided over an empire on which the sun never set. Well, that's it for today. I hope you're liking Nerdies Discoveries. Can't wait for the next video to learn more and be fascinated about. See you on the next. Bye.